What's going on, my friends, my family, my fellow gamers? This is your boy, PorterRock77, your only friend in these YouTube streets, coming back at you with another video. Check out the description box. You'll see the link to my Twitter handle. Hit me up there with a follow so we could continue the conversation. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Don't forget to the subscribe button and the little bell if you enjoy the content. And of course, everybody, if you take the time to hit the like button, during, post, after the video, whatever, I'll truly appreciate it. All right. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and just checking out my video. So it's long overdue. All right. I promised that I would do a Spider-Man review of the game. Now, keep in mind, I rarely, if ever, do review of the games. And I'm going to explain. Quick question. Why? Well, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to talk about quick news about Spider-Man, now that we have NPD results in, and I'm going to talk about the post-review. And the post-review will have spoilers. Before I talk about the spoilers, I will mention, hey, this is the spoiler part, just in case there's still people that don't want to play. So you don't have to worry about that, all right? But first off, why don't I do reviews often? Why do I rarely, if ever, I do reviews? The only reason why is to me, game reviews is pretty difficult to be consistent with. It is. It's a very challenging thing. Because there is a personal bias to the games that you play. For example, I enjoy Fallout, right? I love Fallout games, right? I love Elder Scroll games, right? But those games are very glitchy. They have huge bugs. They always come out buggy. They always have to come out, with patches and updates and all that. Bethesda makes glitchy games, but because of the gameplay, because of the world, because of the Fallout, storyline, because of Elder Scrolls storylines, I enjoy it. I love the gameplay. I love how character designs. I love how you can shape your character with powers and all that. I love all that. I just enjoy how the games are in RPGs. So a game like that, I'm willing to forgive the bugs, But then another game, which I'm not too fond of, right? May have bugs not even half as bad as Bethesda, but I might knock it even worse. Does that make sense? And that's only because I'm basing things off of what I like. If I really enjoy a game, you'll forgive the bugs. And some people love State of Decay 2 and they don't care about the bugs in it, while other people aren't really enjoying it and they make, you know what I'm saying? That's just how it is. So because of that, 1 year I might thrash a game because of something I don't like, and then 2 years later I love a game, and then the audience, you guys, will come out, hey, Border Rock, 2 years ago you thrashed the game because of this, but now you don't like it. Oh, you're not consistent. And that's the reason why I don't do it, because I don't deal with that. I'm not going to deal with trying to justify why I like a game or not. I like what I like. I'll accept risks in some games, while other games I won't, simply because it depends on the gameplay if I enjoy it or not, So a game like Fallout and Bethesda, because I love the gameplay and how the game's designed so much, right? I may not like another game. I might be enjoying another game, but if it has those bugs, it might ruin the experience for me. So it depends. It goes from game to game. That's why I don't really deal with the reviews, If a person asks me, what I think about a game, I just give them an opinion what I think. That's about it. But Spider-Man, I'm going to do something special just particularly for this game. Because it's Spider-Man. It's dope, right? But before that, NPD got released, all right? Again, because I have audiences outside of America. NPD is a tracking firm that tracks merchandising and consumerism all across the globe. But for gaming, they particularly release free information to the public about the U.S. trends and markets month to month for game sales, right? This is NPD, and they only track, let me rephrase that. They provide free information on what they track to up to a certain point in the U.S. Because again, where they make their money is in-depth, detailed information, which you have to pay for, and it's like $50,000 or whatever. So obviously, most gamers are not going to pay for that. But they do release free information specifically to the U.S. market about gaming. So every month they release the top 20 games that sold the most during that period, the consoles that are sold the most during that period, and stuff like that. Okay. So for the month of September, during that release, we have some big games released. Spider-Man was a big game that was released. Forza Horizon 4 was released. NBA2K were released that same month. All right. The number one selling game of that month was Spider-Man, which is absolutely huge. All right. The reason why it's huge in of itself is because of NBA 2K. If many of you fans know about that franchise, the franchise is bigger than Madden. All right, NBA 2K is huge, and it's on multiple platforms. It's available on PS4, Xbox One, PC, and the Nintendo Switch. So it's encompassing the entire sales of all four platforms bundled into one package. and Spider-Man outsold it. Now, keep in mind, Spider-Man's only available on one platform, the PlayStation 4. So you're talking about a game, right, that's only available on one platform, right, versus the combined sales of PlayStation itself, Xbox One, PC, via whichever, store, because it's a combined digital sales of Steam, Microsoft stores, CD keys, whatever, wherever you digitally download, all right? PC and the Nintendo Switch, which is a hot item, all right? So you take all those four audience, and Spider-Man outsold them all. In fact, Spider-Man is the third highest selling game of the year. Again, this is the US. Third highest selling game of the year in its very first month. That means it already surpassed Madden. And Madden's been out about a month earlier, August. But again, Madden's available on PlayStation, Xbox, and now PC. Available on 3 platforms. Been out since August. Spider-Man outsold it right out the gate. All right. In fact, it's behind the top. The top 2 selling games right now, or the top 3 selling games right now of the year. Number 1 is Far Cry, which again came out in February, actually, right? I think, but came out early in the year and is available on multiple platforms: Xbox, PC, PlayStation. The number 2 selling game of the year is God of War, only available on PlayStation, and that came out in April. And Spider-Man's number 3. Absolutely phenomenal, absolutely incredible on what that game has done. It is by far the most successful game Insomniac has ever created, period, right? And I've said plenty of times, this will be the most played Spider-Man of all time, despite the fact that's only on PlayStation 4. I know a lot of gamers outside of the PlayStation ecosystem were pissed that this is exclusive to PlayStation and that it's being deprived. The game, a lot of gamers that don't own PlayStation are deprived of the game. Therefore, it's not going to reach the audiences it's intended to reach. And I replied back, this game will be played more than any Spider-Man that was multi-plat across multiple systems. In fact, the last Spider-Man came out, didn't even sell 1 million copies, right? And it's across PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, Xbox One, Xbox 360. It's on fucking PC and all that stuff. It's on almost every device. Couldn't even sell 1 million copies. Yet this game is the number 1 selling game of the year, so much that it's even outsold 2K19. This Spider-Man is played more than any Spider-Man before it on any platform, on any generation. To add to that, to enforce that, statistic was, you could check on Twitter, Matt Piscatella, he's the MPD guy, all right? This Spider-Man had 37% higher sales than the previous, for launch, all right? So Spider-ManPS4, right? Its launch sales is 37% higher than the launch sales of the previous Spider-Man, right? Here's the kicker. It's 37% higher than the previous Spider-Mans combined. Listen, combined. Take every Spider-Man game you know of, and I think MPD said going all the way back to 1995. So take every Spider-Man game on every platform, on every gaming device you can think of, right? Except for Spider-Man 4. Every game before Spider-Man PS4. Every Spider-Man game before PS4. Doesn't matter what gaming platform. Going all the way back to 1995. Take that game, right? And their launch month, whatever they sold. For each and every single game you can think of. Combine them into one massive sale. So from now, from the last Spider-Man game, going all the way back to 95, regardless of platform, right? Take their launch month sales, combine them into one big pool. So you're talking almost 23 years of launch Spider-Man sales into one big pool. This one Spider-Man game on PS4 is 37% higher than that number. That is how powerful this Spider-Man is. This is how much more people are playing and will be playing this game. It's phenomenal. So like I said, those who were crying about, it's not available, it's not multiplayer, that's messed up. I'm sorry. If you are a Spider, this is where you're going to have to pick and choose your fanboyism. Are you allegiant to Xbox or are you allegiant to Spider-Man? Because I know some people will say, well, I can't afford it. It's going to be very rare. I mean, granted, I feel for you, but PlayStation is dirt cheap, right? PlayStation is dirt cheap. It's really dirt cheap. I'll say this, though. The guys who said they can't afford a new console, I will co-sign that statement if you own the vanilla Xbox One. If you upgraded to S, if you definitely own an X, I'm not trying to hear that. Because you guys just paying more money for really nothing but better graphics or something. You're not really getting a better game. Well, I ain't gonna say better games. You're not getting more gaming experience. It's the same games. So if you put your money towards an Xbox One X instead of buying a PlayStation 4, then I don't feel sorry for you. Granted, it's your money. You do what you want. I'm not here to judge you. All right. But the advantages of being a multiplayer owner is having access to games you can't get on that one console. You understand? All right. That's the reason why I didn't go upgrade to a Pro. I went and found a way to get me an Xbox One, because what's the point of getting a Pro? It's still the same games. Granted, they look better, they run better than when I got my vanilla, but it's not a truly different game experience. Only another platform. So if I have the money, it's always going to go towards another platform by buying the same platform but better specs. Because in the end, I'm asked out of different experiences. So it is what it is. It's the small minority that's going to, complain about this. But the fact is, the majority of gamers are playing Spider-Man. Or maybe wrong statement. I will say Spider-Man has been accessed by more gamers than any other Spider-Man, even though they were multi-plats. Pretty much, right? So it's phenomenal. Congratulations, Insomniac. Again, I'm wondering what Insomniac is going to do from here on out, because they are at the high peak. You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't think they're at the top of the mountain. I think they could grow bigger, but they have to make the right decisions, right? I'll be honest. At least for a little while, I wouldn't go back to like Sunset Overdrive. Not saying it's just not. There's no point. I wouldn't go back to Resistance. I wouldn't try to make a generic or whatever, multi-plat IP or anything. What I would try to do is, Strike While the Iron is hot. This is the most successful title. I would try to sit down and discuss, can we repeat this formula again? Can we go to Marvel and be like, hey, Marvel, are you interested? Go back to sit down at the table with Sony and Marvel. Hey, are we interested to do this with another title? Or do you guys already have these titles, IPs already pushed out, whatever. Like, for example, where's X-Men at? Do you guys have any dealings with X-Men with any other publisher or whatever? If Marvel's like, actually, no one's really asking for X-Men yet. We haven't really thought about it. Take it, grab it. I don't know why you wouldn't. Be like, let's do another one. We'll take the X-Men IP. Sony, you publish it just like Spider-Man. Sony be like, got it. We'll do the same partnership. You'll handle Spider-Man, you'll handle X-Men. Who knows? Maybe even a third title. And for the next couple of years, that's what you rock with. It's working for Rocksteady. They were very successful just publishing Batman games. Sometimes you grow into what go into what truly makes you successful. Insomniac, I think if they create an X-Men game, which I think they can, they tie in with Marvel, get a good storyline. Sony, Sony will support the developers to have them make the very best they can. It's a hit. X-Men would be a hit. Maybe a Daredevil game, since it's based in New York City. Just modify the city a little bit. I don't know. I think Insomniac should go after another IP. That's just another Marvel IP. That's just, the company will be so successful. The game will be so fantastic. I just don't see Insomniac going, like, do you really want another Ratchet and Clank? Like, I mean, we have so many of those. Those are fine. But Resistance Insomniac, or would you like them to? We don't have a lot of, I know it seems like I'm rambling and going whatever, but we don't have a lot of great Marvel comic book games. We don't. Let's be honest. We got two, Batman Arkham Cities and now Spider-Man. That's it. We don't have much else. And Injustice, a fighting game. Okay, DC, But as far as single player, getting involved into the story of the characters like Spider-Man or Batman, we only have two. Spider-Man, Batman. That's it. It's an atrocity with all these great characters and IPs that we don't have more games like that. Somebody needs to do it. Now, Square Enix is dipping, their toes in the pool with the Avengers, and they're using Crystal Dynamics and somebody else, another great developer, Eidos. So hopefully, they come out with a great universe, But right now, I think Insomniac did a fantastic job, and it would be crazy if the only thing they do is Spider-Man. They'd be insane, especially if they're trying to, we just want to do other stuff like Songs of the Deep too. They're cool and all, but right now, your bread and butter is what you did with Spider-Man. Take that talent, take that mindset, just grab one more IP, Because I'm telling you, we want an X-Men. The world wants an X-Men game in the same vein that you did with Spider-Man. We want it so bad. You know, we just thirsting for it. But anyway, so that's it. So now I'm going to go into my next phase, which is my Spider-Man review. I will warn you when I get to spoiler territory. And yes, I will go into spoiler territory because that's a big part of the game for me. All right? But I will warn you. So that way, if you want to cut it out. And then what I'll do is I'll put it in the description box. I'll tell you when I stop talking about the spoiler warning. So that way, you know, if you don't want to involve. But there is going to be spoilers. All right? I'm warning you now. But I will warn you again right before I start talking about the spoilers. Right? So my overview of Spider-Man. All right? It is definitely a 9.5 game for me. Okay? 9.5 out of 10. All right? I'm going to talk about pretty much just my whole experience with it. Okay? So the one thing I noticed about Spider-Man is just the city itself and being Spider-Man in the city. For some reason, this game brought out the most authentic way of being Spider-Man, swinging around in New York City. I was swinging around just doing the side missions in New York City before I was even doing the main missions, right? Right? And usually that's dangerous. Not dangerous as you're going to die, but dangerous as you might get bored of the game. I'll give you a perfect example. Because there was one other game that did that, I did that with, and that was Prototype. Do you guys remember that game, Prototype and Prototype 2? Right? So, you know, you're in a big city. I think it was New York City as well, or whatever made up city. But, you know, you have these powers. You're running up. You're gliding. It was cool. You have all these powers. And I was doing, you know, for a couple of hours, maybe a day or two, that's all I was doing. I was just jumping, earning abilities, just enjoying the powers in this free roaming place. It was dope, right? Then when I got into the game, I got bored. Because while playing the game, you have to use those powers and do all the things you were doing for fun. Now you're forced to do, well, I ain't gonna say you're forced to do it. You have to do it as part of the game. But I was playing a game, I got bored of it because I was doing it so much. Now I was playing Spider-Man again. I was just going around the city, swinging, all that stuff. After a while, I was like, oh shit, I think I screwed myself. Because now when I play the game, I have to do all this stuff. So at one point I'm thinking, damn, I just prototyped myself, right? That's not the case at all. I mean, even after I beat the game, right? After I beat the game, I still spent maybe 2-3 hours after the game just swinging, you know, arresting people. It's just, the fun for me just didn't stop. I mean, it's the closest thing you're ever going to get to being Spider-Man. Was just fun. You know, what I like is also the little bit of details that they have. You know, in the previous Spider-Mans, and I played a couple, I didn't play all of them, but I played many of them. A lot of the swinging was pretty much just the web going up in the air. You know what I'm saying? It going up in the air and you're swinging around and stuff. In this game, it's very detailed where it doesn't just simply go through the screens. You actually see and hit in buildings. It has to connect to buildings. You know, you need something to actually web swing to. That's what I loved about that detail. If there was nothing to connect to, you weren't swinging. Make sense? So that added a level of realism, right? Another level of realism is the fun you can have. You know, the artistry, just the movements and all that stuff. The freestyling, that. All of that is just, it just felt like Spider-Man stuff like that. A lot of things, little nuances, which many of you may not have even done, is there's certain places in the cities where if you swing towards it, it creates a thing like, you see him like go through tubes and tunnels. He'll go through windows and stuff like that. You just have to swing at the right place at the right time. So it's so dynamic, enjoying and swinging over the city is so dynamic and stuff. So that was just a huge part for me and a huge enjoyment for me. It's just the enjoyment of just swinging in the city. Again, even after I beat the game, I still enjoyed it, right? The next part of the game I enjoyed was the costumes, the talk, just the details of the costume, what powers it brings, brought a great dynamic to the game, and everybody was having their fan favorites and stuff like that. Be honest, I love playing with the advanced suit simply because, I don't know, it was like the most common one, but there were suits I used depending on the mission. Like, for example, for like the missions where you have to sneak and, get the hideouts, I always like to change into the black suits, whether it was the Shadowcat suit or the Secret War suit, but something black uniform and related, because I liked the theme of me sneaking around, and me sneaking around in a bright red costume with the big white symbol. It just didn't feel right, especially, I like games like Metal Gear Solid and stuff like that, so I like to keep with the same, ambiance. Does that make sense? That's just a little thing for me. But a lot of the costumes was awesome, a lot of fan favorites, the Iron Spider-Man suit and stuff like that. But to be honest, I stuck with only a consistent set of powers. So there's a whole slew of powers that will augment your abilities to fight based on your profile. My favorite was the one where you generate focus faster, and then I also picked sub weapons that augmented me getting focus faster. So my fighting style was generating focus because a lot of my combos generated from knocking out people with base focus. So that was just me. I was more as a focus fighter. But I seen videos of people just using whatever, like the Iron Man, Spider-Man suit combined fighting, stuff like that. I just felt, for me, the focusing on focus enhancements did two things. One, gives you the ability to use those instant, knockout type powers, and help you gain energy because focus energy help you replenish energy. So it was like a double whammy, while the other ones was just really enforcing one thing, right? Other powers I preferred myself was the ability to generate more experience or more focus using gadgets. And then it was like two more and stuff. But overall, there's a slew of weaponries and gadgets that you can use. Styles, the grenade bomb was awesome. I mean, there's a lot of cool gadgets in that game and stuff. I'm not going to go down the line because it's going to extend the video. But they added a great portion to that, right? Next up, what I loved about the game is the missions. Missions were fantastic, even the side missions. Except for the pigeons. Even though there was a lot, they were kind of a little annoying. But everything else was just fun, From Harry's missions, where you have to go to each substations, stopping crime and stuff like that. It gives you the ability of just being Spider-Man, living in a thriving city and stuff like that. I love the missions where you had to chase the cars. They were just so fun for me. It was just a lot of fun for me and stuff like that. And I also love the hangout missions where you had to sneak around and web people. And, and all these little side missions and side ways of doing things didn't feel forced. It felt naturally part of the Spider-Man lore, right? So, to me, and I think to a lot of people, all these side missions were fun for the most part, and people wanted to do it. I think Spider-Man is the most platinum game out of any PlayStation title for reading an article. And that's huge because that means people not just enjoyed the game, they wanted every bit of it. And that's just how good the game is. When you have more people platinum it, meaning they go for everything. Now, the platinum's not hard, but you still have to put a little bit of labor to get to it. It's not like something that's like incredibly difficult to do, but you still have to put in some work to do it. And I think people were willing to do the work because the game is just absolutely fantastic and phenomenal, right? Now, this is where it's gonna get into a little bit. Well, I'll start talking about this. The fighting, all right? The fighting. I know a lot of people are doing the battle between Spider-Man combat versus Arkham, Arkham franchise combat. Spider-Man combat is clearly, inspired by the Batman fighting, but it's evolved, okay? We have to admit it. It is better, but it's inspired, Batman Arkham City, starting with Arkham, Arkham Asylum, it's clearly that game influenced a lot of games' fighting styles, right? And Spider-Man is one of those games, but Spider-Man evolves it. If you look at Spider-Man and you take Arkham Knight, which is the last Spider-Man, Arkham Knight is very slow, it's very static. It looks like a goddamn Genesis fighting game. Now, I'm not saying that it's bad. It's just that's just how far advanced Spider-Man combat mechanic is. It's very fluid. It's fast. The dodging's fast. The combos are fast. It's just a very speedy, elevated, evolved game. Hopefully, Rocksteady, when they make their next superhero game, they have to evolve. They can't stick with the same combat engine that Batman. They have to evolve it. They have to make it faster. They have to make it fluid, which is perfectly fine because, these two games can elevate each other, which is a win for gamers, I think, Insomniac saw their influence behind the Batman Arkham engine, or how they created the fighting style, but Insomniac evolved it, and they did a great job for now. So the fighting style is phenomenal. There's so many ways to fight in that game. I had to look at videos on new creative ways because I never realized there's so many creative ways. Like one creative way of fighting that I learned from watching a YouTube video was when you uppercut an enemy up in the air. Normally I would just jump in the air and fight, right? I saw a video where a guy got uppercut, but instead of jumping in the air fighting him, you would just web him and then you slam him straight to the ground, and then he would stay stuck to the ground. I'm like, oh, I never even thought about that. Because I would just jump in the air and just fight, and then swing, kick, or do some crazy stuff. I would hit people in the air, and boom, instantly KO them. amazing. And there's so many others. How to swing them into the wall. There's just a lot of stuff that you'd be surprised at stuff Spider-Man can do in that game in terms of combat. What you can do in that game in terms of combat that you really don't know because it takes a level of imagination to stuff. So there's a lot of stuff you can do in that game. And a lot of it you can learn through YouTube and watching other people's gameplay to do it. So that's what I learned. And that made the game even more fun. It's just incredible that you can learn so much more, right? So that's the fighting stuff, right? I'm going to address some stuff some people don't like. Not a spoiler warning. It's, the gameplay segments where you play as Mary Jane and as Miles Morales. I've seen on the internet and Twitter people are blowing that up. The reality is those segments are very easy and they last like 5 minutes. They're more like interactive cutscenes. They're straight gameplay, but they're so quick and fast, they don't really interrupt. I know some people are like, I don't want to play as Mary Jane. I want to play as Spider-Man. It's not like, don't look at it as like Halo 5 where you play as Locke for most of the game. It's nothing like that. Mary Jane and Miles, very small part, very quick part, integral to the story because they do add to the story and build up a bit. But it's not like where I would say between Mary Jane and Miles combined together, unless you're dying consistently, which you shouldn't because the parts are not that hard. They're pretty easy. You maybe spent 20 minutes playing as those characters in gameplay compared to like the 12, 15 hours, 18 hours you will play as Spider-Man. It's very fast. I did not, those segments go by real fast. 20 minutes, 30 minutes top. You're not spending 2-3 hours. If you spend 2-3 hours in total with Mary Jane and Miles, you are dying a lot. I'm talking a lot. Right? So don't worry about so much for that. Right? So there's that aspect for that. Now, the day and night thing. I know a lot of people complain that the game doesn't have 24-hour day-night cycles. Probably would have been nice to have. Does the lack of it affect gameplay? No, it doesn't affect gameplay a lot. Would it have been cool for Insomniac just to implement a consistent cycle where the sun goes up, sun goes down? I will tell you this. If that was the case, there would be a lot more nice looking photo mode shops and stuff like that. Photo mode, pictures going on Twitter. I think it would have been a plus for the ambiance. As you're swinging around, the city gets darker, and then, the sun rises up. Would have been cool. All right, but it's not going to detract from what the game is, really. You're not going to miss it. Still an amazing game. All right. So what else I want to look at? Combat's great. I talked about combat. I talked about the suits. I talked about the powers. Talked about the gameplay. Stuff like that. Huge city, huge maps. It's just amazing all around. So now let me talk about the stuff that I love. And this is the spoiler part, right? So spoiler warning. This is spoiler. Spoiler. This is a spoiler. Stop now if you don't want absolutely no spoilers. But I'm spoiling some stuff right now, okay? So, here's the spoiler. Spoiler warning, right? Ready? Number 1, Miles Morales. One thing we all know is, Miles Morales in the comics is another version of Spider-Man, right? I always wonder how they're going to implement him in this universe, right? And this universe is like World 1028 or something like that, whatever. Well, in the game, Mary Jane broke into a facility and one of the infected spiders was on her body, right? So it escaped with her when she escaped the scene, whatever, right? I'm not going to go too into detail at that. And then all of a sudden, the spider was back in the little, homeless shelter that they're in. The spider left her body and I was traveling in that building, right? Miles Morales, while picking up a box or something, he gets bit by the spider and he kills it, right? So now that's how he becomes Spider-Man. Towards the end of the game, after the credit scene, if I remember correctly, Miles Morales still don't know Peter Parker is Spider-Man, right? He doesn't know that, right? He doesn't know the two. If I remember correctly, he doesn't know that Peter Parker and Spider-Man are the same person. He doesn't know. But anyway, there's a credit scene at the end of the game, right? Where Miles Morales goes to Peter Parker's apartment and says, hey, can I talk to you? Because I got to talk to you about something that I can't really talk to about my mom, And Peter Parker's like, sure, what is it? And he goes, yeah, I'm going through these physical changes. And then Peter Parker's thinking, okay, this is the birds and the bees story. He's like, yeah, that's normal. He goes, no. That's not what I'm talking about. He goes, let me show you. So all of a sudden you see Miles Morales, he jumps up to the ceiling. And then, now he's like, he's standing like Spider-Man, but like upside down. He's like, he's like, pretty weird, right? I think he said weird or crazy, but he's like, pretty weird, right? Then Peter Parker looks at him. He's like, So now he jumps up and he's stuck in the same position, and now he's looking at Miles Morales straight to straight. He goes, not weird at all. And then that's how that scene ends. So it's phenomenal. I don't know how that impacts Spider-Man 2. Imagine Spider-Man 2 includes Miles Morales. Imagine co-op. Oh my God, that would be so fantastic. You know, you'd be able to do two-player co-op. Imagine Insomniac implements something where, you know, they have a mode, online mode or something where, you know, you can co-op with somebody and both of you are traveling through the cities and stuff like that. It would be absolutely fantastic. Or at a minimum, the game now has Miles Morales as a playable character, but you're playing him as Spider-Man as well. And he has his own sets of techniques, tools, powers, suits, all that stuff. You know, what I don't want is Miles Morales just to be a clone of Peter Parker, where really the only difference is just the voice acting and the suit. But it's the same gameplay. It's the same guy. The way he swings, the fighting mechanics, the power moves, the gadgets. So really it's just a skin, you know? It's just a Miles Morales skin. I don't want that. If they do implement Miles Morales Spider-Man in the next one, please make him unique. Give him his own flavor. Give him his own style. Give him his own method of swinging. I mean, even right down to the details of the swing. Give him something unique. So that way when you're playing as Miles Morales, you know this is Miles Morales. Especially the tools, the fighting style, the combos. Give him his own unique play style. So that's what I hope, okay? Another spoiler, and this one right here, a good essence of a single-player game is when it pulls you on your heartstrings. You know what I'm saying? So when Aunt May died, I was like, oh man, that shit sucked. I didn't expect that. You know, and then it comes down to the choice. And so, you know, Spider-Man, he's gonna make the choice to save the city. Damn, bro. You know, he had a sacrifice, and he didn't really sacrifice his aunt. His aunt actually sacrificed herself because she told him what he needed to do. But the fact that one, she knew he was always Spider-Man, which is amazing, and then she died. Yo, that pulled on the heartstrings, you know, in that one. That's really it. I even did if you look at my timeline on Twitter, I don't want to repost it because some people were mad. They were like, oh, spoiler, Portorock. But I did my own little photo, you know, photo mode. And what I did was, after she died, they did a funeral. And after I beat the game, I went back to the cemetery. And at the cemetery, you see her grave, and then you see Uncle Ben's grave, right? So what I did, I took Spider-Man and put him on top of like a statue. And then I panned it around behind him. So in the back, you see Spider-Man, right? And then you see the two graves on the side. So he's like in the middle, but he's looking down, whatever, right? And then I put it like in a comic issue, and I made it look like a comic issue, you know? Because you've seen comic issues like that where you see like the front and then somebody die, and like, oh my God, what happened? You have to read it. So I made the comic issue look like that. And then I made like a little statement on my Twitter, and I put it, and I got it from the Avenger 4 Infinity War film, the scene where Thanos asked, where the girl asked, what did it cost? And he answered everything. So that's what I put, you know? I put, what did it cost? Everything. You know, a lot of people were like, man, that shit is deep. Other people like, spoiler alert, you know? But I had to, man. That thing really caught me on my heartstrings. I'm like, man, that shit sucks, you know? But overall, the game, I would have to say, talking about it, listening to about it, and I tell you, I love God of War. I love God of War. God of War is amazing. But Spider-Man is my personal game of the year. By far. It is the game. It is the Spider-Man game Spider-Man fans have been waiting for decades. And we thought we had it, you know, when Spider-Man came out on PS2. It was great. It was awesome. But this is the game. That's it. If you're a Spider-Man fan, you have to find a way to play this game. This is the game. It will not let you down. This is the definitive Spider-Man game. And possibly, and I'll be honest, I am a Batman fan. It's hard for me to say this because I am such a Batman fanboy, but this is possibly the best comic book game I played, you know. And I am a Batman fanboy, and it's with a breaking heart that I say that because I love Batman. I love Arkham Knight series. I love it. I love it. I love the franchise. I love the game. But this Spider-Man game hit every single thing right. It's just phenomenal. It's an absolute one of the best games, if not the best game I played this gen. Is just fantastic. The Heist just came out. I'm going to play it tomorrow because I came out of work late today. So I'm going to definitely enjoy it tomorrow. And then also I'm going to do New Game Plus. Because from what I saw, I guess there's trophies for New Game Plus too. So I'm going to check them out, which is fantastic. I just can't get enough of this game. I said before, Spider-Man 2 sold the PlayStation 5 for me. I am getting a PlayStation. I'll get a day one. I don't care because I know Spider-Man 2 will be on that platform. That's just phenomenal. So that's my review. If you're a big Spider-Man fan, you have to play this game. You just have to play this game. You will not be disappointed. It's probably one of the most phenomenal games, right? I outright want to say thank you, Insomniac and Sony, for publishing this game, for taking it over, for taking IP, from pulling it from the hands of Activision. Marvel, thank you so much for giving Sony and Insomniac the opportunity to take care of this game and elevate it to new heights. Hopefully this game, because I know Marvel intends, and they said that this game will be for the Marvel gaming universe of what Iron Man was for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So hopefully all publishers and everybody that's going to be involved with the Marvel gaming universe, or whatever they want to call it, they use the example Sony and Insomniac set. Because this is it. And if we get more games, if Avengers is even half as good as a Spider-Man, then that game is going to be phenomenal. You know, if all these games that Marvel plans to have publishers and developers do are similar to the quality and level of Spider-Man PS4, we are in good hands as gamers. You know, and I don't care if it's a multiplayer, it doesn't really matter. You know, just push these games out. You know, push these universe. They deserve it. I think Marvel's doing a fantastic job with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they're doing a phenomenal job with the TV shows on Netflix and stuff like that. So it's time for gaming to get its due. All right. So that's my review. It's about 36 minutes long. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. Hit up the comment section so we can continue the conversation, and hit me up on Twitter, right? And I'll come up with another video soon, right? My next video is going to be about PlayStation 5, and it's going to be what I don't want PlayStation 5 to be. Make sense? You'll see, all right? But anyway, this is your boy PorterRock77. Again, if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the notification so you can get more content, or you'll be notified. Yeah, there you go. Notified about the content. I'll have these little screen cards up to make you, not to make you, but to make it easier for you to subscribe and stuff like that. But anyway, don't forget to like button. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is your boy PorterRock77, your only friend. I'm your only friend in these YouTube streets, all right? Take care. Peace.